Hey, what's going on, my friends? It's Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. I'm going to go ahead and bring on my old co-host, Ryan Halpert. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Dave? How we doing today?
Good, man. Great to be with you all this morning. Cheers, salute. We're getting started here about 15 minutes past when we normally do. Sometimes in life and in work, you have a plan, you say, hey, this is what the plan is, and then the plan changes. And this morning was one of those kind of times, and voluntarily the plan changed, meaning that we had a plan to come on here and to talk about marketing stuff and what to post when you don't know what to post and some of the more mechanical things. And we were late on actually going live today because I got off the phone with one of our former advisor here at Legendary's mother. And I got the sad news that our dear friend Andrew Webster had passed away. Now, many of you know who Andrew is. Ryan certainly does.
Mm.
And so we said, hey, look, I'm not so much feeling like talking about marketing stuff this morning. I'm not so much feeling like talking about what to post and this and that. I'm thinking about, especially after getting off the phone call that I just got off with Andrew's mother, very sweet lady. And some of the things that she said to me, which really were moving, because of course, coming fresh off of having somebody so close to you, your own son, pass away, she had some very heartfelt things to say, most of which I'll just leave between her and I, because it was a wonderful conversation. But I was certainly personally moved to talk about something different. Of course, we know we go live here. We've got the show planned. It's 10 o'clock. So I shared the news with Ryan. We were getting ready to go live, and shared the news with Ryan. And I said, hey, man, I'm not so much feeling like talking about marketing stuff. And so, we're going to talk a little bit about this idea of, for those who can't, we must. And the reason why this loss of Andrew, which again, the sort of news that I'm talking about here, and some of you know who this individual is, and some of you don't. Anyways, he was an advisor who worked here at Legendary, worked with many of our clients, worked here for many years. I just got the news. Now, I was alerted last night, actually, Ryan. I got an email from Papa Dawn, and this email said, "Hey, worried about Andrew." And so, I went on, took a couple of steps to try to find out some information. And I eventually did get that information and did get that confirmation this morning. And of course, it's a big shock. And so anyways, I'm processing the information myself, of course, but we certainly want to send our condolences to Andrew's family. Speaking with his mom, and then of course his mom talking about his sister, who's devastated. Papa Don actually was asking me to try to get in touch with his sister. These are some of the types of things that happen. Some people think that this internet marketing thing is just I don't know what people think it is, but not only are we trying to make money and trying to build businesses and trying to create freedom for ourselves and our families, yada, yada, all the things, but along the way, we also meet people that, in Andrew's case, the thing that was interesting and unique about Andrew, he was a student at Legendary, first and foremost. He came in as a student, okay? And and he actually sorry, I'm just pulling up his picture here. He came in as a student, and he actually also along the way shared his recovery story. He had gotten sober, and so anyways, um, he was supposed to meet his father for dinner the other night, and he did not make that. And his father did a wellness check on him, and they found him. And again, gone way too soon. Um, don't know any more details than that, except that were obviously trying to find out what was going on with him. He is a very young guy. I don't know if he's 40 or not. But anyways, a horrible, a devastating loss to obviously his family, a devastating loss to the internet marketing community, our community here. I know, again, Papa Don reached out. Many other advisors know him, affiliates know him, students here know him. People had him as their advisor. He was pursuing affiliate marketing himself. His mom said he was so positive. He was so positive. She said she would say to him, or she would say things and be negative, and he would just say, "Mom, think positively. Like, just think." And she said that made an impact on me. Uh, he just was somebody who was trying to better himself and do better and be better. And so he'll be missed. And these are the kind of people that that you meet along the way and that become a part of your extended family. You want them to win. You want them to do good. You're excited to hear that they're growing and progressing. And when you hear of something like this, that somebody's passed away, again at such a young age, and again, like I said, we don't know why. We don't know what happened to him. Perhaps his mother thought maybe he had a heart attack. There's no known reason right now, but the bottom line is that he passed. Um and it just all the more reminds me that not only there's people that didn't get a chance to chase their dream or get a chance to finish their work. And in talking to his mom here literally this morning, um again, the reason why I was a little bit late here coming on to the show, and of course delivering that news to Ryan and processing it all in real time and still having to make phone calls after this. Hopefully, people are, if they are hearing the news here, even on this live stream, and they know Andrew, then it's not a total shock, at least, or at least hopefully you're able to process it as we're talking here. But um, the bottom line is life is short. Life is fragile. There's people who didn't get a chance to chase their dreams. There's people who didn't get a chance. I was talking to his mom. She said he loved his work. He loved the people that he worked with. He loved the people he was able to help. I mean, this is one of many people like him. You who are watching the show are like him as well in those respects. That, sure, there's the tough days. Sure, there's the days that you feel like, the world's on top of you and you're not on top of the world, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, you like the challenge. You like the work. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. This isn't easy. This guy liked it too. He was one of us. He liked it too. He liked the challenge. He liked getting on and working with people and selling and marketing and trying and getting on video. And as a matter of fact, he also was positive and tried to influence people around him. And no, was he perfect? No, no. But I mean, I looked. Papa Don emailed me last night. Said, "When's the last time you heard from Andrew?" I said, "Well, I mean, he's been sending me inspirational videos on Instagram. Let me go check." And sure enough, April 29th, he had passed on the 30th. So, anyways, again, sharing this news for our community so you can know about this tragedy. Again, passed away in his home, and was found via a wellness check by his father. This was back on the 30th, and our condolences go out to his family, his mother, everybody. And he's a great reason why, um, we need to go after what we're doing with vigor and with zeal, and because there's a lot of people who didn't get a chance to finish their work and see out their dreams. Andrew's definitely one of them. I mean, he definitely had big dreams. He had big aspirations. He was motivated about what he was doing. There's no doubt about that. So, yeah, this is what's going on with us here this morning, brother, and we're shifting gears a little bit, and we're talking about a little bit of a different topic here than the typical marketing mechanical stuff, and maybe some of us can also tap into our why a little bit and remember kind of why we're doing this when in these moments where we stop and smell the flowers a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. Very beautifully said. And I mean, Andrew's a guy, I talked to him a good number of times. I mean, he was a BPA when I first joined the legendary team. And there was a handful of occasions where we'd hop on Zoom calls, we'd be sending Slack messages back and forth. And I think I got a couple of those motivational posts from him as well. And he was just always a nice guy to talk to. He was always, there's always some people where, they kind of reach out to you and you're like, okay, I'll get to you when I can. And then there's others where it's like, oh, cool. I'm excited to talk to this person, every time they reach out. He was one of those people. And it's like you said, I'm just learning about this morning too, but it's something I think about fairly often, and is contributes to my motivation. And when these types of things happen, it makes you think of it even more, is just, we all kind of approach things like we've got all this time in the world, and you really don't. I mean, even your lifetime is actually short, and if you decide to squander it away and not go after things that you want, which is why I go after things that I want, because I know eventually there's going to be a day where I can't, right? And then I'm going to be, laying there, sitting there, standing there, whatever I'm going to be doing, full of regret and full of, wishing that I had tried harder. And I think and I haven't had a failure yet that is worse than what I imagine that probably feels like. So I'm really, I'm working to avoid that. And of course, there's always that risk that anything could happen and could put a damper on that goal, right? Or make that goal impossible to reach, something like this, right? What do I want to be known for? Do I want to be known as that guy who just always talked about big stuff? Or do I want to be that guy who actually just did a bunch of big stuff? And people remember me for very specific things. And that's kind of, what's really, really important to me. So it's definitely a huge driver for me. And then these events like this are, all that much more of a motivator and reminder to just make sure that, I don't slow down and I don't quit what I'm doing. And I just keep going. And I'm not trying to turn this into those, there's no time to take a break talks, but it's, if we're still waiting or getting ready to get ready or on the fence or in any of those sort of frames of mind, right? You don't really have that much time. It's also things like this that really help me, and is kind of, and this was a mindset shift I've had some years ago, which was, there's always this, I always had this tendency to make assumptions, right? And now I no longer make assumptions. For instance, right, if I send somebody a message and I don't hear back, right, the assumption I might make is this person mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Is there a problem, right? Why isn't this person getting back to me? Especially if that person was, a customer of mine, if it was an employer, if it was any person that was, not just like a casual text, right? Like where I sent something meaningless. If I sent something, I'd start to have these assumptions. And then you start to realize, after, so many times, like, okay, there was a real legitimate reason that, that person didn't get back to me. There was a real legitimate reason that person wasn't able to do it right now. Right. And it's allowed me to be more tolerant. It's allowed me to be more forgiving. It's allowed, and that's not just something that benefits the other person. That's more for me than anything else, because now I'm not distracted by thinking about, why isn't this person getting back to me? Right. This person is probably busy with something. This person might be a grieving mother. This person might be, right, maybe just lost their job. This person maybe, right, who knows what could have happened, right? But you always, every time I've made that assumption and then I come back and there was some kind of legitimate reason that person was like, hey, look, you couldn't be my priority in that moment, I've always felt kind of stupid after that. And I always felt like, why did I even think that? That didn't make sense for my brain to go that direction, but it did. And so it's a reminder of that too, that you never know what somebody might be going through or dealing with, and why you might in that moment not be their priority. And there's so many different sort of thought processes that get triggered by these types of things. It really helps gets the brain moving and thinking about all these different things, but that's just, a couple things that come up for me, and things that I'm reminded of when, a good friend like Andrew is, you get news like this about, somebody like him. So.
Yeah, I think Kim sums up here as well a lot of what you're saying. Be slow to judge. You never know what somebody's going through, and again, I think that definitely is true all day, every day in our interactions. It appears that in his case he was healthy and happy, and perhaps had a health issue that happened. But there's ways in which we we have issues every day. I mean, some of them are mental, some of them are physical. We just never know. We just never know. We never know what A, somebody's going through, or B, if they're going to be here tomorrow, or if we're going to be here tomorrow. And so, and that is that is such a far away statement until it happens to you, until you actually lose somebody.
Absolutely.
It feels like it'll never happen to you until it does, and then it's like it's like a faraway star, and then all of a sudden it's an asteroid that just hits you. And I know that somewhat because of almost losing my father back in 2022, when I think it was 2022. Yeah, he was in the hospital for um a really long time. He had an open heart surgery and he had complications, and he was in there for, something like 90 days, in the ICU for like 50, on a ventilator for like 60. And, that really scared me, man. I thought I was losing my dad. Because it was drug out, I think it was a different experience than if somebody was to just pass away, but there's no doubt. Both are dramatic, traumatic, hard to deal with, but so we don't know when somebody's going to go, and we don't know when we're going to go, and so living every day with zest. I've said vigor, zeal, and now I'm throwing zest in there, like a little pep in your step, a little gratitude. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm speaking to myself as much as I'm speaking to anybody else. I mean, this is the kind of stuff Andrew would have loved to hear. I mean, the more fired up I got, and the more I ranted and raved, the more he was in. This guy loved that kind of stuff. He loves this sort of truth talking. But yeah, I mean, having a little pep in my step, having a little zeal, having a little zest, having a little gratitude. It's like, because I could any day, I mean, these situations happen all the time, whether you've got a widowmaker, some heart condition, you just don't know, a car accident, my God. I mean, and again, as I say this, this is a great reminder for me. This is not a sermon for you, for anybody else. This is such a great, and again, as Andrew would wish, and I think any one of us who are like-minded to him. Again, Andrew was an advisor in our company, and a marketer and an entrepreneur, and somebody who was a friend and a son, and was in recovery, and all of things he shared. And again, if you're just jumping on, I got news last night that he and this morning confirmed that he passed. And so, again, if you're just coming on, we switched gears a little this morning to get away from the mechanics and get into the dynamics, and tie in this event that we're just learning about into our everyday lives, and somehow try to determine very quickly what the teachable moments and lessons are from this, right? Because here's a situation that shouldn't have happened, right? I'm talking to his mom 45 minutes ago, and I said a son should never pass before his mother. Your pain
Mm.
is so understandable. I mean, it's so I can't even imagine, right?
Yeah.
And so, it's like, wow, what can I take away from this? I mean, something like this is this will require, of course, additional processing time after the show to think about it, and probably uh, uh, just again, what are the lessons? What are the moments? What are the memories? As you would do with anybody that you knew and cared about, right? But we never know. We never know when our time is up. And for those who there are so many people who cannot, for whatever reason. I had a friend who last year, I believe it was a year ago, it was between a year and 2 years ago, rather fresh still. Um, Wonderful young new couple. And he was a worked in some sort of construction or window cleaning or something. But this gentleman was in the prime of his life. Had just again, I was friends with both of them. He went to work one day and he fell off of a scaffolding or something and never came home.
Mm.
Never came home. And we sit around and we think that, I do. I mean, sometimes I treat my body or eat or whatever like I'm going to get another replacement. I just got to go get it, get it. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. I mean, they can upgrade it and service it, but at a certain point, it's gonna stop working. Um, and and so it's yeah. Somebody shared that they lost their son to a massive stroke. My cousin, 40, had right in his early 40s, had a stroke, was riding a scooter, fell off, had a traumatic brain injury, double whammy. He's now he's in a wheelchair. He's lost a lot of brain function. I mean, these things can happen, and so yeah, every day is a blessing, man. And Andrew's memory will certainly be a blessing, is a blessing for us here this morning. And and I definitely again am am finding the teachable moments and sort of remembering the dude, and be grateful in this moment for the people that you meet along the way in this journey, and you never know how they're going to impact you and become a part of your life. So yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember when I was in the hospital and I was, on the other side of this conversation to a degree and thinking that I wasn't going to be leaving there. And I remember feeling like as I was, I was still talking to people. They had a phone in the room next to the bed, so I was talking to my wife, fiance at the time. I was talking to my mother, I was talking to my father, I was talking to my siblings, I was talking to other family members, and people were friends were just checking in on me. And I can remember thinking that for a lot of those people I talked to that went out of the way to get the phone number to reach out to me. And I can remember thinking, man, none of these people gave a shit about me before I was in the damn hospital. I hadn't heard from some of these people in years. And all of a sudden they hear that I'm in there, and now it's a big deal. We got to make sure we talk to them. And So, and I remember thinking that. I remember vividly thinking that as I was laying there, and when I right like the first day or two that I was in there, when I was getting all these phone calls, and that's when I was very uncertain as to what was going to happen. Like I didn't know, like I wasn't like this is it for me, but I
Now,
also wasn't.
for context, this was when you had COVID back in
Yeah,
2020,
yeah, exactly,
and
right.
you were in the
And that was
hospital on a ventilator.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Right. And then, yeah. And so I wasn't like, I hadn't accepted the fact this is the end, but I was also like, there's a good chance I'm not coming out of here because I'm not getting better. It's continuing to get worse, and this hurts a lot. But obviously, luckily, I'm still here. But I'm getting all these phone calls. So, and I remember thinking that, and it was very hard for me to appreciate some of those phone calls that I got, because I know that even since then, right, there's some of those people that called me, I still haven't talked to them since, right? Last time I talked to him was when I was laying in there. And, I know part of it has to do with my mother, my grandmother calling everybody, make sure you call them, hounding everybody, because that's just what they do. And they've done it before. They tell me to call this one because they're not feeling good. And this one's, whatever happened. And, that's just how they do. So I know that was the trigger for a lot of the calls. But, it's kind of just like, man, make sure that when there's people that you actually care about, make sure you talk to them. Make sure you spend the time talking to him. Make sure that person's not going to feel like you don't give a shit when you finally call him, right? Make sure that person is not going to think that you just forgot about them, left them in the past, and they're not important to you anymore. Because I can, and if somebody's not genuinely important to you, then don't lead them on to think that they are. Let that person focus their energy on other people that actually do care a lot. And that's kind of what I've done. That was actually one of the things that led to some of the decision making I did, like moving across the country, kind of writing off a lot of friends that I haven't talked to in years, family members that I haven't, written off, but not that I just don't talk to them. I don't have a need to. There's not a reason to, right? And and also to the point where if something were to happen, I probably wouldn't go to the funeral. It's like I just don't. There was no connection there. It's really adjusted where I focus my energy. And so it's just there's so many different things that come up when these events happen. It really gets the brain turning, and you start thinking about different things. You gain new appreciations for different stuff. um you know and a guy like Andrew, he's not somebody that I would talk to on a very frequent basis, but he was absolutely somebody that if he ever reached out, I would respond to the message. I would answer the phone. I would what is it that I can do for you? How can I help you? How can we help each other? What do you want to chat about, type of thing. um
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people, like that. Because I know if I reached out, I would get that same response.
yeah, yeah, and it's nice to have those friendly faces, those smiling faces, those helpful people in your life, and he was certainly one of them to our community. So we will miss him, and please pass the news along to anybody that you think may have known him, and keep his family, his mother Lydia, in your prayers, because they're certainly feeling a lot of pain right now. All right, my friends. Well, this episode has been a little bit different, and it's just when you're doing a show, like a live show like this. This is I would say even a little bit different than a podcast, right? Because I don't really call this a podcast. This is a live show we're doing every day. It's pretty fluid. It's got, it's pretty live. It's based around just what's happening in that moment and having real raw conversations. Um, this is what's going on, at least in this moment at 10 a.m. this morning, and of course the news is it'll be news that we process further on. But This is real life. And I think the beautiful part about this is that there can be some work-life integration, inside of this business, inside of work. And I think that's one of the interesting ways in which I kind of look at what we do is, in some ways, we're redefining what work looks like, because work's always looked in a certain way. You're sitting down, you go somewhere, you put on a uniform, you go to an office, you sit in a cubicle, whatever it is. And you pretty much, you go to your work picnics and holiday parties, but for the most part, you're trying to keep things separate, and you really want to, it's I don't know, it's definitely there's definitely, you're looking for work-life balance, not work-life integration, I think.
Mm.
And with entrepreneurship and this kind of way in which we're redefining how we work, which I really think is an interesting big idea in terms of what we're doing. We're not just teaching internet marketing. We're not just teaching affiliate marketing here. There's way more to this. The people who actually follow through and experience this, even Andrew, for example, you redefine the way in which you work. I mean, like this morning, for example, what my morning looked like before this was that I woke up, took my kids to school, and then hung out in the parking lot for 20 minutes before my daughter had a poetry slam at her school. And I hung around for 40 minutes and then drove home to be here by 10 a.m. And, the phone call with Andrew's mother, of course, happened on the way home. I could never imagine the constraints of a regular 9 to 5 work life. Like, it's not just the job, it's the whole control that goes with that. It's wherever I got to drive to, whoever I got to answer to, all the things that come along with that normal 9 to 5 corporate, right? Which is cool. And that's what is needed in a big company, but for me, it's not my ideal life. It's not what I want. More of a free spirit.
I'm with you on that. I mean,
more of a wild man. I'm more of a black sheep. I'm more of a wanderer. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so we're really, all this integration of both doing what we want, having flexibility. I mean, for example, this morning at the poacher slam at my kids, there's a couple of stay-at-home dads there for Christmas sakes. It's a private school, so there's some people with some dough there, but it was mostly moms, and I was probably one of the only dads there, right? Just because because I've been designing my life for 16 years. And so I've got the ability and flexibility to be able to do the things that I want to do. I've also got the ability and flexibility. You talk about redesigning work. Well, I do what I want to do. See, I was feeling nostalgic and sad and shocked and all that about Andrew's news. And that's what we're talking about. You too, right? It's like doing what you want. Do you get paid? Does your shit talking neighbor or best friend or the dude who thinks he's cooler than you or whatever get paid to go to his daughter's poetry slams, to come home, talk about people that were, passed away, that the ability to be able to switch gears, you're leaving, you're listening to the show, but you're probably getting ready to do something in your business. It's the freedom that we are seeking. It's the redefining the way that you work and the way that work looks is what we're about here. It's not just some affiliate marketing or whatever. There's a lot more that comes along with it as you sort of step back and unwind and untie and unshackle yourself a little bit from this sort of regimented, scheduled schedule that you get from your boss every week, and then who else controls your time in life? What else? Who again, I just mentioned private school. The reason why my kids go to private school, because I get more say in what they do and say and learn versus just sending them somewhere where I have no say. Or do you live where you want to live? These are the things we can go down the list and say, well, am I really driving the car I want to live? Am I really living in the neighborhood I want to live? Are my kids really going to the school that I want? Am I really doing exactly what I want to do for work or whatever? Or am I just checking boxes and ultimately just trying to skate by and sort of ultimately having somebody else dictate the majority of what I do with my time and who I spend my time around? And that's the mission. That's because that then unlocks and opens up all of these other opportunities to make memories and to spend the time with the people that you want to spend them with, to be happier. Again, I was talking to Andrew's mom. She said he was happy. He liked what he did, liked helping people. To me, that's the win. That's the legacy. Did you love what you did? Did you go after what you wanted to go after? Did you do what you wanted to do with your life? Not maybe to the extent of, helping the world or saving the world. You don't have to be Mother Teresa or Batman, but like to a certain extent, did you do it your way? And that's the vibe I'm on this morning. So
yeah. Do you have some cool stories that people could talk about? Are people going to be able to say that person was really, really happy? I can remember looking back on it. It's much different than it was when I experienced it, but I can, and this isn't even a big deal, but like when I can look back at my first job, and I don't remember why I was on the phone, but I was on the phone for a couple of minutes. And I remember putting the phone down, and my boss was standing there looking at me like this, hands on his hips, looking at me like, do I pay you to talk on the phone? And that's what he said. Do I pay you to talk on the phone? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't talk on the this is how frustrated I get thinking about it. I'm like, man, talk about like, I can't imagine being a grown ass adult paying bills, and I can't talk on the phone for 5 minutes because I'm on your time clock. And that was like, for really, really a sincere, it's something I'll never forget. And I couldn't imagine as an employer being that type of person. I'm trying not to use a bunch of foul language because that's the direction I'm going. I couldn't imagine being that person. I couldn't imagine, no matter what kind of business I had, being the employer that if I saw one of my employees on the phone, I got frustrated about it. But now, obviously, if they're not doing anything and they're texting for like nonstop every day, then it's like, okay, hey, this is, we got to address this. But it's like, this was one phone call I'm talking about, which is ridiculous. And, I couldn't imagine being that way. And I also couldn't imagine going back to a life, right? There could be another parallel universe, Dave, where maybe you didn't take that phone call this morning and you had to make it a return phone call this evening as you're sitting in traffic on the way home, right? And I can't imagine that, right? I can't imagine that. And I almost feel so far disconnected from that because it's been so long for me. But it's like a reminder, right? You think about these little things, and it's like, man, that's why I got to make sure I keep working and I make this work, because otherwise that's where I'm heading, and we don't want that. And when you this is just my experience, right? When you work really, really hard to change something, it's not hard to continue. Sometimes it's hard to start, but it's not hard to continue once you've started, right? So just if you haven't started yet, you got to just get going and stay going. And then, continuing is a lot easier than getting started, in my experience. It's a whole lot easier day by day for me to just keep doing big stuff than I think it was initially for me to take that initial leap. And that initial leap, I'm talking about like quitting my job and doing all that stuff.
Yep. Well said. All right, my friends, grab your ticket to Nashville. Come hang out, come mastermind, come live your best life. That's the vibe we're on this morning. That's the levels that we're on this morning. Is come live your best life. That's really the point of the whole show, the topic this morning, again, RIP to a friend of legendary marketer, Andrew Webster. Talked about that earlier in the show. If you didn't catch those details, the replay will be posted here in a few moments. My friends, have a fantastic day. Be legendary. Get out of here. Thanks again, Ryan, as always. And my friends, we'll see you back here tomorrow. This one's for Andrew. All the hats.
There you go.
Get out of here, my friends. Be legendary. Bye-bye.
Hey.